Hi, this is Joe with Carbon Marine. Today I'm going to show you how to wire your remote tiller pillar switch that you've ordered with your tiller pillar to add tilt and trim functionality to the tip of your tiller pillar. The reason why I decided to make this video is because there's a lot of variations in what color wires are used on different motors, manufacturers, and models. Very few motor manufacturers adhere to the NMMA color standard, so we cannot just connect color to color. It doesn't work. So what I'm going to demonstrate here, this is a mock-up of a functioning tilt and trim circuit on an outboard motor, and I'm going to show you how to use the process of elimination to figure out what wire color goes to our colors. So to begin with, you're going to need 3 barrel connectors. These are just standard barrel connectors. You may want to use shrink wrap style or shrinking, heat shrink. These are just standards. This is our harness coming off of the tiller pillar. We do adhere to the MMA color standards, and those standards are this. Blue, this would be for sky, up. Green for down, think of grass under your feet. And ironically, this black wire is the 12 volt positive input. The way this circuit works is we send 12 volts positive into the switch. And then when you rock the switch one way or the other, all you're doing is closing the gate either to go down or to go up. So because of that nature of this circuit, we can have as many switches in the circuit as you would want, because you should never be in location A making the switch down and in location B making the switch up. Doesn't make any sense. So that's why we can wire as many switches as we want into the circuit. So just to demonstrate that we have a live tilt and trim switch on the motor, I've set up a multimeter here. So the beep that you're about to hear is going to be the motor going up or the motor going down. So right now that is down, so we can hear the beep. That means the motor's going down. And up, you can hear that beep. That means the motor is going up. So we know our motor circuit is functional. So the first step, pick one wire. So we like to tell people, go under the cowling of the motor. On the port side of the motor, there's going to be a switch there. So if you're standing at the back of your boat looking toward the front of the boat, on the left side of the motor, there's going to be a switch there that you can tilt the motor up and down while standing outside of the boat. That's where we recommend that you would terminate to, because there's typically more room there. Some motors will give you enough room in the tiller arm itself, but we discourage you from doing anything within the tiller arm because it's got a very, very restricted amount of space, and you do not want to disable the factory tilt and switch in the tiller arm, because like in my case, I only use my tiller pillar about 20% of the time, so I still want that factory switch to work. So I don't like messing with that switch in the tiller arm. I like coming back here a little further into the wiring harness where I can get 2 or 3 inches of wire open, where I can make my cut and make my splices easily. So now we're going to try to figure out which one of these circuits is the upside or the downside. So we're going to cut one wire and only one wire. So we just cut the green wire. So now the down is working, the up is not working. So in this case, that green wire identifies the up circuit of the factory wiring harness. So quickly, we're just going to strip these wires back. And we're going to combine our green wire to our blue wire and put that into the butt connector. Crimp it, and then put the other side of our green wire into that other side of the butt connector. And crimp it. So at this point, our circuit should be complete on the factory switch, both up and down. You can hear the beep both up and down. All right. And now we're going to go ahead and cut the second wire, and only one wire. So now we've got the yellow wire cut. Now let's see what happens. Oh, we got no beep on either side. So that tells us the yellow wire on the motor harness is our 12 volt positive. So we're going to strip that wire back. Okay, so now we're going to combine our black wire to our yellow wire and add our barrel connector. Crimp it. And then complete the circuit on the factory harness here. Crimp it. Now we should have continuity on both the up and down sides on the factory motor switch. By process of elimination, the last wire left standing on the motor harness is the brown wire. So we're going to cut it. And then we're going to combine the last tiller pillar harness to the last wire of the motor harness with our barrel connector. I'm going to crimp it. So I want to point out too that you don't want to cut these wires on the motor harness too close to the factory motor switch. Make sure you give yourself enough room here that you got enough wire to reconnect after you've made your cuts. So at this point, we've got all three of the tiller pillar wires terminated into the motor harness. So we should have up and down on the motor switch, the factory switch, and up and down on the tiller pillar switch. So that's how you go through using the process of elimination to wire your auxiliary tiller pillar tilt and trim switch into your factory tilt and trim circuit. One last point that I want to point out, in this demonstration I did not use heat shrink barrel connectors. I just used some inexpensive barrel connectors. If you do use heat shrinking barrel connectors, do not shrink those with an open source flame heat source. Even though you might have a fuel injected motor, there could be residual fuel fumes in the pan of your motor, and an open flame could possibly cause a fire or cause it to catch fire. So use something that doesn't have an open flame to heat shrink those connectors if you use heat shrink connectors. I hope this helps. Get a lot of questions about how to wire this circuit. It's pretty simple once you see somebody do it and you understand how the whole circuit works.